we are back with Po Tian, and this time it's up against the underrated Chinese player Lin Dianqi. Po Tian goes for e4, and Lin goes for the hook defense. Po Tian, being very principled, has gone for the most aggressive line, the Austrian attack with f4 and bishop d3. This is the main line. Now here the main move is actually knight a6, going for c5. The move c5 is also very much playable in this case, as is the move knight c6. But after some thought, Lin decides to play a slightly unusual option. He goes for the move bishop g4. Pinning the knight on f3, Po Tian goes for a very principled move e5, kicking the knight back, and h3, forcing Lin to take on f3, and Po Tian takes back. So Po Tian's got the two bishops, as well as a big center. Lin attacks the pawn on d4, but Po Tian simply defends it with his bishop. So now Po Tian is on the verge of getting an overwhelming position. So Lin Dianqi has to play very, very accurately here. He's reaching for his knight. What's he gonna do? He plays knight b4. He hits the bishop on d3. And if the bishop moves back, then the pawn on c2 could be an issue. Po Tian can't really move the bishop, which means that he will probably lose the two bishops. Well, there's not much else to do. He decides to castle. Now, Lin takes the bishop, and Po Tian takes back with the rook. So now Po Tian has lost two bishops, but he's still got a very nice center and good prospects to attack on a king side. Keep in mind, this is a position with opposite side castling, and in these type of positions, the most important factor is usually who's going to attack faster and who's going to get there first. Lin plays c6, protecting the pawn on b7, but now h4. Po Tian is going for h5. He's going to blast open the black king's position. And it's not easy for black to do much about this. For instance, if black tries to stop the move h5 with h5 himself, then Po Tian is going to jam the move g4 in, and black's going to be in a whole lot of trouble. So this is not an easy situation for him. Now to his credit, Lin plays a very interesting move. He plays f5. So at least he's stopping any f4 to f5 ideas. If Po Tian could have got h5 and f5, that would be a total disaster. Well, Po Tian still gets the move h5 in. He had to because Lin was threatening h5. And now Lin plays e6. So he's stopping the move e6 and he's thinking of solidifying the center with the move d5 in the near future. Po Tian takes on g6 and Lin takes back. It's time to go for the attack, and Po Tian finds a very strong move. He plays g4, blasting open the black king's position. He's threatening to take on f5 and either open the g file, or he'll have a weakness on g6, which will be a juicy target for white's pieces to attack. This is not at all an easy situation for Lin Dianqi. And now he plays king f7. He's trying to run with his king. Po Tian immediately drops his rook back to d1. He's trying to put his rook on g1 to open up the g file. But black plays rook h8. To his credit, this is a good move, trying to trade off some of white's pieces. Po Tian goes rook g1, and black immediately takes the rook. Now black's trying to defend against the attack, so pre-trades are usually a very good thing. And now he plays the move d5. So he's trying to solidify the center and close up stuff. But now Po Tian takes on f5. Lin has to take back with the e-pawn, otherwise g takes would have allowed queen h5 check. And Po Tian goes for a very interesting option, which looks really strong. He plays knight takes d5. So if black takes c takes d5, then Po Tian is going to take back with the queen. Black will be in check, and you'll be forced to play a move like king f8. After which, white could try, for instance, the move bishop d2, going for bishop b4 check. And this is indeed very much crushing for Po Tian. But now, black finds a very interesting defense. He takes on e5. And this is not so easy to meet, because now the queen is attacked, Po Tian must take back, and now black takes the knight on d5. So Po Tian exchanges queens, and black takes back. So now, white has still a better endgame. Black has somewhat escaped. He's gotten out of his biggest troubles, and he can try to hold a draw here. That being said, Po Tian is one of Malaysia's best endgame players, and you can bet that Po Tian is going to try his best to squeeze out a win. And he goes for a very interesting option, c4, trying to open the d file. Rook c8 immediately played, and now b3, protecting the pawn. D takes his force, and rook d6 check. Now the king has a choice. Does he go back to f7? But in that case, there will be rook d7 check. So what's he going to do? Perhaps he might have to play the move king e7. That seems like the only way to do it, because king f7, rook d7 looks too bad. Yes, he plays king e7, and now Po Tian takes the pawn on g6. Black takes on b3, it's a check, so Po Tian must move his king to b2. Now here black has a very strong move in king f7, hitting the rook, and if the rook moves back to g5, then black can take on a2. Yes, Po Tian will get the pawn on f5, but black can simply move his king away. Both sides have two connected pass pawns. And yes, I guess Po Tian's pawns are more advanced, so that helps. But it's not that easy. But black makes a mistake. He brings his bishop back to f8. Now, Po Yu-Tian can simply pick up the pawn on b3. How's he gonna take? I think the a takes b3 looks better. That's what Po Yu-Tian does. b6. Now the pawn at f5 looks really weak. Po Yu-Tian's gonna take it. Rook f6. The pawn is indefensible. Black's gotta find a way to create counterplay immediately, but how's he gonna do that? Rook d8, a good try. He's trying to play a move like rook d3, but here Po Yu-Tian is very accurate. He plays king c2, stopping any potential checks. Rook d8 check, king d3. The king is going to go to the king side, where it's going to support the two connected passes. And it's not that easy for black to do anything. Rook d8 check. So he's forcing Po Yu-Tian to go to the king side. Or no, he blocks bishop d4. Perhaps he didn't want king e2, rook c8. That would be a bit interesting for black. Yeah, black's going to come into c2. So king e8. Now bishop c5 is an idea. So Po Yu-Tian has to do something about it. I think he might have to move the king, otherwise there would be a pin, which is what he does. Now Lin plays rook c8. He's trying to come into c2 and try to attack some stuff. Rook f5 and now rook c1. He's trying to come and attack the pawns from the back. Rook b1 is one idea. And it's not that easy to meet actually. Not sure what Po Yu-Tian is going to do about this. Maybe he has to bring his king back to the queen side. But then he could run into some checks. But I guess he has to do it, otherwise rook b1 is going to win that pawn on b3. And that's what he does. He plays king d2. Now black plays the move rook b1, king c2, and now it brings the rook to f1. So now it's not that easy for Po Yu-Tian to make progress. I guess he will have to try to push the pawns on the king side, but he also has to be worried that black could start checking. So bishop e3, he's protecting the pawn at f4, he's ready to bring his rook and push the pawn, but black plays rook f3. Now king d2 protecting the bishop, and now rook h3. So it's not so easy to make progress. Obviously white should be better, but things are not at all simple. So how are we supposed to continue? We probably have to move the rook and try to push the pawn. That's what he does. Rook g5, threatening f5. Bishop b4 check. Black's trying to harass white as much as possible. Check again on h2. King f3. And now rook b2. So black's going to win the pawn on b3. That's simply indefensible. But now Po Yu-Tian can activate his king. Rook takes b3. And his passed pawns are supported by the king, so they can be very strong. Yes, he starts to push them. e6. Now f5 is coming. King e7 attacking the pawn on e6. But why can't we just play f5? The pawns will look so beautiful, and rook g7 is coming up. And that's what Po Yu-Tian does. f5. Such a beautiful position. It's not at all easy to stop the advance of these pawns. Now there are ideas like even bishop d4, king d5, trying to push these pawns. Bishop a3, black's panicking. Rook g7 check. This is even worse, king f8. And now, can we just take the pawn on a7? I think we can. Oh, he gives a check on f7 first. Why not? Just to force the king to e8. And now Po Yu-Tian grabs that pawn on a7. Now b5 is a last trap, threatening rook takes e3. But now Po Yu-Tian gets his own tactic. Rook a8 check, king e7. And Po Yu-Tian's just double checking. Yes, he takes the bishop on a3. And if rook takes, then bishop c5. So black has to resign. A great game by both players who found great resources, but Po Yu-Tian was the more experienced player and he really showed his skill at the end. Thanks for watching, and if you would like to see more of these videos, then please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers and bye for now.